try to get a little theoretical sometimes. আরেকটা বিষয় হচ্ছে, there was another idea that basically Anika had, and that was to make memes. Now we cannot do that on computer because there is only one computer, as you can see. So what you can do is they have a lot of meme templates. So this could be like random selection. You could be given some, and you have to probably come up with some idea. You can, I mean, of course, if it's a good idea, you can just make it digital later. Get a template online and create it. Yeah. So, searching. While it searches, let's talk about memes. What's a meme? This is not a rhetorical question.
Basically, it's a digital version of satire.
Okay, good point. Anything else? A digital version of satire. Anything else?
Can be on point or off point.
Okay. Oh, you have a critique amongst us. Okay, on point or off point? Anything else?
It's extremely funny.
It's like আপনার কারোর সাথে শত্রুতা আছে বাট মুখে বলতে পারতেছেন না।
So you knew about it? Yeah. Literally did that today. Not quite sure if I'm going to share it though, but anyway. So
I watched a comment of yours.
I actually made a number of memes about him. I am only allowed to show one. So yeah. Anyway, when did you first come across the term meme? I wanted to ask because I want to understand when you were exposed to memes or when you understood first. When did you know that first?
When I
2015.
At first I thought they were trolls.
Okay.
Then I later learned that no, they're not trolls. They're
What is
memes.
the difference between
Troll is basically like a figure, while meme is something that's more, it has a text and a picture, but trolls are basically like a picture and an image, which you have to guess like what's happening there.
Interestingly though, the word meme itself actually had nothing to do with internet memes. You know about it.
Completely just.
Anyway, so the word actually was coined. Do you know what a neologism is? Hey, language club, neologism.
Like differentiating between something.
But neologism, it's basically when a new word is coined. The word has been sort of discovered or made up. That is called a neologism. So it was a new word that was coined in 1976 by this guy called Richard Dawkins. Now Richard Dawkins was an evolutionary biologist. So how many of you are good at biology? Tell me what a gene is.
Gene is the basic unit of the cell, or it's the building block of a human being. Like,
So it's a building block, which means if it's a block, it's kind of like Lego, right? You put one over another, and then through generations they sort of get transmitted. So they have certain qualities, like they can mutate themselves, they can replicate themselves, they can change themselves in adverse conditions so that they can survive. That's why Darwin said, the whole natural selection thing. We say survival of the fittest. Interestingly, Richard Dawkins thought that meme is basically you know how gene is like the biological evolutionary thing. Meme would be its cultural counterpart. So when we're talking about cultural evolution or culture being transmitted, that would be a meme. So he thought, if an idea or a behavior or a style or something like that is being transmitted from one person to another, one mind to another in a certain culture, that is a meme. He tried to rhyme that with the word gene. That's why we don't call it meme, we don't call it meme, we call it meme. So that's why exactly. I think there is a page called Khati Bangla Memes, Anyway, so this is like the cultural counterpart of things being transmitted. So, meme, well, I have poetry people here, so you know what mimesis is. What is mimesis? Mimesis. It comes from this Greek word. When you say, how when
Mimesis and
literature or
diegesis.
art replicates life. So mimesis comes from this Greek word that means replication.
Later.
Interestingly, meme বিষয়টা সেরকম. There is a word called mimema in Greek, which means something that is replicated or imitated thing, to be exact. So, ওই mimema থেকে my meme এর মাইটা বাদ দিয়ে শুধু meme থাকলো, so that it can be labeled with G, and that's how the word was. Interestingly, internet meme এর বিষয়টা হইতেছে it's an activity, I guess, or a catchphrase, or maybe some sort of, I don't know, a conceptual thing, or a piece of media, image হোক বা যাই হোক, video হোক বা GIF হোক, either way, something that gets transmitted in the internet, on the internet. So that is what we understand by meme. So, 2013 সালের দিকে, but it means it is very difficult to say when memes sort of evolved. Yeah, began. But people say that it's probably around the mid-1990s. It's very difficult to trace all the way back and find out. I mean, there are speculations যে এটাই প্রথম meme ছিল, but that is still pretty, like, one cannot be exact. So, around 2013, there's a magazine called Wired. They went to Richard Dawkins and they interviewed him. So one of the many questions were that, what do you think about people taking your word and sort of changing it and using it in a different way? তখন বলছিল যে yeah, they sort of hijacked the word, but actually the word in current context is not really that different from the original context, because when he tried to express memes or explain memes, he sort of used the example of virus. You know how virus gets transferred from one person to another to another to another ad infinitum. So internet meme কিভাবে transfer হয়?
Share
It
viral.
becomes viral,
Share.
which is pretty similar in discipline. It becomes viral. So Richard Dawkins was actually pretty happy about it. Now that they've taken the word and also kind of made it more stylish. একটা পার্থক্য শুধু উনি করছেন, সেটা হচ্ছে যে he focused more on natural selection. যে কোনো আইডিয়া হোক, একটা কালচারের মধ্যে যে কোনো রিচুয়াল হোক, যে কোনো প্র্যাকটিস হোক, সেটা হচ্ছে ন্যাচারালি কিছু টিকে থাকবে, কিছু থাকবে না। এখন সুনামি মিলে কেউ বাঁচবে, কেউ বাঁচবে না। এখন ডারউইন বলতে চাইছে যে তারাই বাঁচবে যারা হচ্ছে who are genetically more fit, who are more adaptable. এখন জিনের মতো মিমের ক্ষেত্রেও Dawkins said the same thing, except
জিনের মতো মিম।
তো এই ক্ষেত্রে একটা পার্থক্য হইতেছে যে এই ক্ষেত্রে মিমের ক্ষেত্রে they are actually altered deliberately by humans. We deliberately choose which ones to create, how to spread them, which ones to sustain, which ones to erase. So this is not really as similar as natural selection. Cultural ক্ষেত্রে it becomes more natural. It becomes almost spontaneous. But when it comes to internet memes, it is actually more deliberate. There is more agency. So that is the Big Bang Theory of memes, I guess. এখন
Have you read the Poetics or Mimesis?
No, I haven't.
They were going through like the classics. I guess Ramanta or the
do you guys have like a favorite meme?
Philosopher-Raptor. Philosophical Raptor.
অনেক favorites আছে, অনেক good.
Name your top 3. Okay. Tamina wanted to say something.
The template is
There's this.
nobody.
Nobody.
The J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody.
Okay, I have some memes sorted out.
I really like the nihilistic cat.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
I like the one where it's like there's astral projection and you keep on getting smarter and smarter, but the ideas are dumber and dumber.
I know what you're talking talking about. My current favorite meme is weird flex but okay. Even though it's pretty dated now, but still that's my current favorite one, so I wanted to. I was pretty adamant about keeping the name here. What does weird flex but okay mean? Any idea?
It's like when you brag about something, but it's not exactly something that, yeah,
It's something weird to be bragging about.
it's atypical.
Okay. I have everything on my drive, so let's just see. It's alright.
Yeah, there are really nice otter memes, you know? Like there's this otter that's like rubbing its hands together, looking evil and sinister.
Yeah.
Like classical art movies. Apre ye dekhe, there's a page called Astroviewer memes. Because I was trying to sift through some examples and then I figured that there are too many of them and it's just difficult to. So anyway, let's see. Okay. Internet is slow. I'm hoping that would not happen.
পাশে আইটি লাগবে
IT lab পাশে
Becomes a arena. I think
Oh, nice.
It might
Pixelated
work.
art.
It might work. Okay. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Agree.
Agreed.
Why agree?
Because it's quite common for people to say they want to die. Like it's become a template to express their disillusionment.
Either raising his hand or
No, just
not
scratching.
Okay. I'm not sure if I completely agree with it or not. I think people have always wanted to die, regardless of the generation. But I do brag and say that memes are probably like the greatest creation of the 21st century. Weird flex, but okay. So the first internet meme was not actually an image. I think images are more common. We call it image macro. When you take an image and then superimpose a text upon it, you get empty templates and everyone can sort of try their hand at it. Interestingly, the first meme was behold this beauty from 1995.
Yes.
I don't know if the sound works. Sorry to, but it's too weird. I can't. Anyway, so people say that this is probably the first ever meme that went viral from 1995. Then later GIFs were made, and I think you will still find them. However, the first image-based meme was this.
All your base belong to us.
All your base are belong to us. Any idea where this is from?
It's from a video game.
StarCraft, or Red Alert.
I don't
think it was Red
know
Alert.
what is the name of the reprised version, but originally it was called Zero Wing. It was from, it was an arcade game from the 1980s, but then there was another version from the 1990s. And it's Japanese, and this is basically an example of a pretty faulty translation. Most of the translations were like that, but this one somehow stuck around, and then people started using it. I think there is another one I saw the other day when Vladimir Putin's face was there, and he was saying, "All your memes are belong to us." So anyway, the third one is also there is probably no original version of this one, but the third meme was.
Everyone just chose to honor it as cheat codes.
It out of creepy. আমি বুঝলাম না এরকম ব্যাপার। Yeah.
What's the internet?
This is super weird. I love hamsters.
This one's actually cute.
Yes, it makes no hamsters. So there was a cartoon called Hampton the Hamster. So the hamster dance was the first
Should I know
meme as a video. The second meme was a video, I guess, to be viral, sort of. And then the ball went rolling and we had another one called Epic Fail. Because ordinary failure just wasn't enough. So this one is from 2003. And the next ones would be called LOL Cats. This one was unique not because they had cat faces, but also because they used English that was deliberately wrong and weirdly grammaticized and weirdly spelled. So I am because I am out of focus, and this is another one. I have this is looking at something.
I has a flavor.
Yeah. Another meme was Pepe the Frog.
Feels good, man.
Yes. Pepe is from 2008. I don't know if this one, yeah. I think we all know why he feels good, but we're going to overlook that. Okay. And then came one of my other favorites.
Oh.
The Grumpy Cat is more recent, from 2012, but one of the most popular ones. How many of you relate to? I do. Me only? Okay. Awkward. I like the sound of me.
The sound of silence.
Another one that became very popular but comparatively more recent was this, the mocking SpongeBob. So this is you coming to us and saying, "We submit a Christmas kursi," and this is us saying, "We submit a Christmas kursi." Similar version, Game of Thrones, Daenerys. We will get to it later. How many of you watch Game of Thrones? Good. So, these are the one of, I mean, not all of them are like really primary, original, beginner level memes, but they tended to be very popular in specific years. Akun, do you have any idea what websites either create or circulate most memes?
Reddit.
Reddit? And
4chan?
what else? Reddit?
Hey, Jamie Lord.
He's a meme creator. He makes memes? Yeah. Do you make memes? Okay. What else do you do? With memes, I mean. You make them, you watch them, you critique them. Anyway. क्यों meme lord के पूछते हैं? Hey, sure. Are you going to judge me?
No. I'm not that much capable.
Neither am I, but we're both going to pretend that we are. Okay. Okay, so Reddit, what else? Other than Reddit, what are the most meme-filled?
4chan?
4chan, yeah.
4chan?
Know Your Meme. Know Your Meme is actually kind of my favorite because they don't just deal with circulating memes and all. They actually try to research and find out when a specific meme was first seen. Akon, when we talk about memes, most of the times we imagine images, but how many types of memes can there be? We have seen the dancing baby, so I guess videos include. GIFs include. What else? Can it be just
Can be video content.
Can be video content, so yeah. Maybe pictures. Yeah. Can just a catchphrase be a meme?
Yes, ma'am.
So when I say weird flex, but okay, I am referring to meme. Okay. Now we will get a little geeky. Let me get my notes. The dramatic flair. Okay. So first thing first, the thing that I wanted to talk about first was actually multimodality. Do you have any idea what it is? Linguistics speaking, because frankly I don't know much about it. Okay. A couple of questions that I want to address. First of all, when it comes to the mode that the mode of expression, or rather the mode of creating a meme.
Is it something like, I mean, I'm not very clear about it though. Like, there's textbook, and then I have a video lecture available, and then I have an audio recording available. So multi modes of.
Acha, but before that, so when we're talking about different modes, how would you classify a meme? How would you put it into a category? Is this art? Is this a photograph? What is it? Can you categorize it? Or is it within its own category? মানে meme নিজে কি একটা ক্যাটাগরি হয়ে গেছে কিনা? কিন্তু যদি হয়ে যেয়ে থাকে তাহলে আমরা যেরকম বলতে থাকি, we differentiate. There's high art, there's low art, etc., etc. How would we categorize it? Would it be considered an audacity if someone says, meme is also art? Would you judge them? Would you see that as a form of rebellion? How would you treat that person? Meme is art. Is it though?
Creativity.
Okay.
Basically, we take it as a satirical.
Meme, obviously, there's this intention. It has to be humorous or satirical or maybe pure parody.
You write a
something.
poem
We
with
have
just
that.
memes.
Yeah, you can.
Also hold that thought.
You should look it up.
What about propriety? When someone creates a meme, whose intellectual property is it? And how do you define it?
Sure, hopefully it has girlfriend there.
Ma'am, there is a thing that is actually partially his, because he's giving the ideology, but he's to some extent he is using the content which is already been created somewhere else. But if there is something that he created on his own, like there's this term called OC, original content or something like that. So in that case, we can say that it is his property, and in some cases that is which is mostly the case where it is not his property. Like, for example, if you are taking a content from a movie, if he is using that content
Christian Bale,
from
American Psycho.
as a caption,
Yeah.
he's defining it as a caption. He's putting some captions and expressing something of his own from his own ideology. But in that case, that movie is not his property, but the caption is. So there is this thing partially.
So what happens when I take a blank meme template from that meme but put my own words on it?
That, ma'am, that is partially your intellectual property, but not your property.
Okay, again, hold that thought. This is also an interesting conversation because I mentioned classical art memes, and this I saw a post once, I think a couple of months ago, with pager admin, he or she posted that someone was stealing the memes from that page. তারপর থেকে they started to watermark the memes, which is interesting.
Yes.
Battle of the memers or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So, next question: who decides the meaning? Say I make a meme, but am I always in control of how that meme will be interpreted?
The audience decides.
Okay. সেই ক্ষেত্রে meaning এর কতটুকু টেক্সটের মধ্যে থাকে, কতটুকু বাইরে থাকে? Can you tell that? এবং what is the ratio? How much of the meaning is controlled by the creator? How much of the meaning is within the text? How much of it is in my head? How do I define that?
I'd like to think that the author is dead and trying to assume what they want is
Everyone's dead, now God is dead, the authors are dead.
like
And then they say that we just want to die and that is a problem. I mean, come on.
I think like the same meme, like if it crosses cultures, could perhaps have different meanings depending on the ways that people interpret and think. Like some memes might be considered offensive in like the East, where we have certain cultural milieus, but in the West it might be quite okay. So it depends on the cultural heritage of the area.
Does it also depend on the context the meme is taken from, like part of it? For instance, the image or something. Okay. আগে multimodality শেষ করি. Multimodality is like the easiest of things. is basically using different modes to communicate. For instance, like you said, Rose, once upon a time, people use this word a lot when they talk about education, especially in ELT, when they're trying to teach a different language, and they say that once upon a time, education was very monomodal, like there was book and there were words written on it and that's it. But then people wanted to include other things like images. And then people said that maybe if this was an audio, people could learn better. So, meaning to সবসময় শুধু ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের মধ্যেই convey হয় না. There are other things. When I'm speaking, there's also posture, there's gesture. When it's in text, even, this is not just about text. I mean, there are other things involved often. There's image, there's audio, there's all sorts of things. এখন audiobook একরকমের, graphic novel or comic একরকমের, an actual book with just words, that is also a different thing. Very weird example, but it might fit. Have you been one of those rides that claim to be 4D?
Yes.
What happens there?
They usually have water sprays. The seats, they tilt forward and they create this kinesthetic feeling that you're inside the movie.
So this one time I went to this place, I really tried to remember what it was. I remember the experience. I don't remember what it was. It claimed to be 60 and I was like, what? It was this weird adventure thing going on. Screen there was this, I think, haunted house or something. And then suddenly, of course, the seats were shaking and we had 3D glasses on. And then suddenly, seater niche থেকে বাতাস আসতে থাকে এবং কিছুক্ষণ পর সিটের নিচে থেকে পানির ছিটা আসতে থাকে. So that is their idea of 60. Kind of multimodal because they are using different things to create their own meaning, to communicate something. Again, weird flex. I guess it works for them. So, এই জন্য অনেকে মিমকে multimodal media বলতে চায় because there's image, there's text, sometimes there's also GIF, there's audio, there's all sorts of things combined together. So when you want to convey a meaning, there are different modes used there. Multimodality থেকে আরেকটা জিনিসে যাইতে চাই যেটা I wish আমার আগে মনে থাকতো but I completely forgot about it.
I see dead people.
Can you read it?
I see that it's weird.
But okay.
So multimodality
Can
থেকে
you
next.
just turn off the light?
Can we just turn off the lights?
একদম ওইটা এটার পাশে একটা সুইচ নো
সবগুলো বন্ধ করে আস্তে আস্তে অন করা শুরু
I don't see anything here. So good. Everyone হয়ে গেছে।
Weird flag.
So multimodality থেকে next step would be আচ্ছা না next step এর আগের step হচ্ছে যে আচ্ছা I mean a lot of you are on Facebook I presume. Most of you are on Facebook I presume. Written text এর status বেশি লাইক পায় নাকি ছবি বেশি লাইক পায়?
ছবি।
শাহরুখ খান দিলা বলো
শাহরুখ খান দেখে খাও
also a meme, ma'am. Shahrukh Khan রেখে পাবো।
শাহরুখ খান যদি বলে ওটা তো অনেক I ask that because the fact that memes are so visual, do you think it has something to do with how our culture, especially after internet, has become so visual? Because people tend to focus more on the visual other than the text. I mean, it's weird because it doesn't take much time to make a meme. There are not that many words, similar to how tweets tend to be small and status tends to be small. There are exceptions instead of Facebook statuses, of course. But do you really think that memes also tend to reflect the visuality of our culture right now? And how, when it comes to communicating through a specific mode, we tend to focus more on visual rather than text. Moving on to intertextuality. What is intertextuality? And what is it about this?
Differences, like similarities between two different types. Like, I guess that would be Animal Farm and Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
The way that both of them deteriorate after leadership changes.
Right.
দুটাই কিন্তু leader problem.
What's his name? The pretty guy, Ryan Gosling. Okay. Okay, so this is intertextuality. When you're talking about intertextuality, it basically means different texts communicating with each other, because you have references from one text into another. Reference is more direct. Intertextuality doesn't have to be so direct. So it's basically one text gaining its meaning through the use of another text. And when you know both of them, you understand that there are different layers in that meaning. For instance, Ryan Gosling wore this t-shirt of Home Alone Macaulay Culkin, and then he took that photo and turned that into a t-shirt. And this was the reply to that. Gosling took that photo and turned that into a t-shirt. Would be very weird if you just saw the third photo without knowing the context. I mean, the first one makes sense because we all know what Home Alone is. When you see the whole thing in a sequence, you understand the layers of meaning. So intertextuality is like that. There is one text within another text, and when you know all of it, the meaning changes because there are more meaning now. Meaningception? Anyway, so
Yes.
Layers of meaning.
this would make sense, I suppose, if you know what The Sixth Sense was about, the movie. I have a question, if you don't know what the movie was about, would this still be funny?
No.
Okay. This makes more sense, I suppose, with Mahmoud's favorite meme template here. I guess this is a bit more flexible, less referential. Weird meme, but okay. What about this? Pikachu. Okay, so what happens if I forcibly bend this thing? It breaks. This has happened so many times to me. এখন কথা হচ্ছে, does knowing about Pikachu matter that much?
No.
Not really, right? অর্থাৎ কিনা intertextually এই ক্ষেত্রে মিমের ক্ষেত্রে at least there are different layers to it. কোনো কোনো ক্ষেত্রে context is important, কোনো কোনো ক্ষেত্রে it's not. Or this one, I also like this. You know who you are. I know who you are as well. Or this one. So, Pikachu does not make much more of a difference, I suppose. Okay, what about this then? What about this meme template? What is this from? Where is this from?
Some anime.
From an anime? So it's doing a butterfly and saying this is Pikachu. এই কনটেক্সটে জানা কি জরুরি কিনা এটা বুঝতে হবে।
Is this life?
কিংবা এটা বুঝতে গেলে।
আমার একটা মনে পড়তেছে এটা আসলে আমাদের মাহমুদ স্যার উপরে কি জানি লিখছে ইজ দিস মাই ডাটা
The creator is standing right in front of me.
আপনি
I made it. I brought it. Hold on. So anyway, yeah, that is the only one I'm allowed to show. There are more, but apparently those will defame him. So yeah. So এখন কথা হচ্ছে যে keep the thought in mind. How much of meaning do you think is in your head, and how much of it is in text? What about this? Do you need to be a Marvel fan, or at least have seen Black Panther to understand it? No.
Not really.
But if you do understand it, will it make it more interesting?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Maybe. There's another one for me. We don't do that. What about this then?
Chandler. That's
You
Chandler.
don't even need to read it. You just see Chandler's face and that's it.
Etc. You have to know two things, I suppose.
Chandler.
Panther and Friends.
No, Chandler. Only Chandler.
Only Chandler. I'm happy to know just Chandler after having seen Friends. But either way, so this is referencing to two things at once.
Yes.
Intertextuality and this. Okay. What about this? What about this? So how much background knowledge do you need to get this one? I don't think people would laugh if they didn't know Loki, right?
যেটা কিন্তু স্পয়লার না
Oh, yeah, no spoilers.
It was about Infinity War, not
Endgame.
What about this one? This makes a lot of sense, but this is actually more interesting. So, in some of the cases, there is only one reference point, but in some of the cases there are more. So, কি হয় যখন একসাথে অনেকগুলো মিলকে নিয়ে আসা হয়? Kind of like a mashup. What do you call it? Do you call it a crossover? Do you call it, is this a crossover, or do you call it, I don't know, meaning within a meanception, I guess? Acha, এটা just to sympathize.
এটাতে যেটা হচ্ছে different people will have different interpretation মানে এটাতে সবাই সেম কনটেক্সটে আসবে না সেম কনক্লুশন আসবে না
Why do you think that?
বিকজ এখানে আমি ধরবো যে এখানে হয়তো আমাকে বলছে তুই কোনটা রেখে কোনটা দেখবি অথবা কেন হতে পারে যে ও কোনটা রেখে রেখে যেটা মানাচ্ছে যে কোনো একটা হতে
I know my priorities.
I know my priorities Avengers.
Okay, so is this a crossover?
A
So I guess this would be a crossover.
SpongeBob and that animation.
Okay.
Squidward.
এখন, what about, we all know this one, right? Evil Kermit. তাহলে এটা কি? So, is this one referencing to the evil Kermit want me inner me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm always confused. Okay. Acha.
তুমি কাম
আমরা moving on to a completely different dimension. How many of you are familiar with Ashrobibar, the নাটক দেখ? যারা দেখতেছেন তারা রিলেট করতে পারতেছেন, যারা দেখেন নাই, does it make any sense to you? মানে হ্যাঁ, মানে catchy wise sure, but what about this one? This is actually my favorite. I really love it. অনেক মানুষজন ভুলে যায়, কিন্তু আমি তাদেরকে মনে রাখছি যেন আমার বই নিয়ে ফেরত দেয়।
ম্যাম আমিও ভুক্তভোগী ম্যাম
হ্যাঁ, মানে just like a, you have to be a special category of me to do that. What about this one? এইটাতে কম্পারেটিভলি বেশি হাসির শব্দ, অর্থাৎ কিনা আজরিবার না দেখলে এটা বোঝা যায়। Okay, what about this one? So the layers of knowing the context varies. এখন কতটুকু আসলে দরকার? বা ধরেন, I mean, for instance, when did you first know that draw me like one of your French girls was actually a quote from Titanic?
Yeah.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Rose Borden.
The quote is from Titanic when Jack is trying to draw a portrait of Rose and Rose এটাকে বলে Jack, draw me like one of your French girls. আমি গত বছর এটা জানতে পারছি when I rewatched Titanic incidentally যে ওইখান থেকে এই জিনিসটা আসছে, কিন্তু মিন তো আমি দেখছি আরো অনেক আগে। And I always found it funny, even though I always wondered where it came from, but I was too lazy to Google it. And then I found out that it was from Titanic, and I was surprised Pikachu. But again, proving the point, or at least trying to prove the point, that it varies. কতটুকু context আসলে জানা থাকা দরকার to understand memes. What about classical art memes then?
When your friend keeps asking.
This is me on Tuesday.
Is that Jesus?
So,
Yeah.
একটা painting ওকে পরিচিত?
Nope.
I don't know any of them either. You don't have to know. Exactly.
Jesus?
Is that Jesus? Looking at a random peer, is that Jesus? Honestly, I don't know, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
What about this one? Or what about this one?
Someone opened bags.
I could not get over this meme for a really long time. Just the expression. So again, proving my point, it varies. এখন, is a meme still a meme when there is no image, or there is no written text, but I'm saying it. I'm using the captions. When I say, when someone said, is that Jesus? Why did we laugh? Because it's a known
Because there is
character.
like a lot of trendy memes of Jesus.
I think I saw one the other day where it said Jesus supped with his disciples. I think I'll be able to find it.
The Last Supper, right?
Yeah.
Pretty famous. Mary Magdalene exhibition.
Last Supper.
The Last Supper.
But everyone says stop. So, but this is not just about, there being a lot of memes about Jesus, but it is also about, we have been seeing that meme is this, whatever it is. So when I use a catchphrase, without the meme, do you still recognize it? So then does the catchphrase become the meme? Please don't expect me to answer these questions because I don't know. But I wonder. Shake it straight, does a catchphrase in itself become a meme? That is another thing.
think a lot of people.
So we sort of covered the bases on multimodality, a little bit of intertextuality. The third thing is participatory media. Either I will get even more geeky in my notes. What is participatory media?
It's interactive media.
Do elaborate.
It's media with which you can interact and change and take part in.
Bandersnatch.
Like what?
Like Bandersnatch.
Like, well, yeah, sort of. Bandersnatch, yes.
You versus Wild, like the new Beer Grylls one, where you can make him do things.
Okay. Interesting. Then how is that different from games?
It's not.
It's not. Is it also not different from social media?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
How is it different?
It's different from social media in point of how social media works. There's statuses and pictures instead of interactive motions like there are in games, but it's all participatory media. It's media where you can take a part in.
Okay. Interestingly though, participatory media might actually include social media, or blogs, or podcasts, because it sort of allows people to not just be consumers, rather take a part in creating things alongside or participating in it. There are different layers to it, of course. Some are just interactive media, some are when there is news involved, information involved. There was a phrase called citizen journalism, some called it participatory journalism. What was all that about? When you gather news, even though you're not a journalist, yet however that gets circulated and you take your part in it. রিসেন্ট যতগুলো পলিটিক্যাল আনরেস্ট রিলেটেড ঘটনা ছিল সবগুলোতে there were so many videos that went all over the internet, all over Facebook especially, and people were, because the internet was down in a lot of the cases and people couldn't access social media for information, but people also did simultaneously work to gather information from wherever they were, and they were circulating it, and then that's how we knew about certain things. Some of the information were true, some were false. Regardless of that, people participated directly. The participatory culture বিষয়টা এরকম যে you are not just a consumer anymore. Even though you're consuming something, you still take an active part in it. You take part in creating some of it, and maybe even distributing some of it. So, participatory media বা culture যেটাই বলি না কেন, এটা একটা বিষয় এরকম to engage people in it, to make people a part of it. The same thing happens with memes in a sense, because there is one meme that someone makes, there's a template, and then everyone can sort of make something out of it, and then that gets circulated. So এখন আমাকে বলেন, there are a couple of I shouldn't just throw you the words, rather give you some point of reference. If you were geeky enough to look them up. So multimodality is a strictly linguistics-based thing. There were two people who sort of paved the way for this concept. One is Gunther Kress, the other is Theo van Leeuwen. So they call it, they have a lot of books together, so Kress and Leeuwen, they are the ones for multimodality. Interestingly, intertextuality was brought forth by Julia Kristeva, which was actually opposing another theory that tried to say that texter bhitore sob meaning থাকে. So intertextuality conceptটাই তখন আসছিল এই জন্য যে আসলে টেক্সটের ভিতরে সব মিনিং থাকে না, যে পড়তেছে বা যে দেখতেছে তার ভিতরে থাকে, কারণ সে আবার পয়েন্ট অফ রেফারেন্স হিসেবে অন্য টেক্সটের সাথে ওই টেক্সটার কোনো একটা মিল বা অমিল বা কোনো একটা সিমিলারিটি ডিসিমিলারিটি খোঁজার চেষ্টা করে. So there are always layers to any text because it is always related to any other previous text. সেটা deliberately হোক বা coincidentally. Participatory media or participatory culture, this really cute-looking old man called Henry Jenkins, who talks a lot about media-based theories. So he said there are 5 things that are very prominent in participatory culture or media. আমি বলি, আপনারা বলেন, আপনারা মিল পান কি অমিল পান। প্রথমত, participatory culture has relatively low barriers to artistic expression and civic engagement. True or false?
True.
Not that many barriers in making memes at least, are there? হইতে পারে যদি কোনো community কোনো specific terms and conditions বা guidelines থাকে, but other than that, not really. Strong support for creating and sharing one's creations with others. Strong support from others. The meme lord can speak for the community.
There is no objection, so the word like no objection actually refers to
Not necessarily.
It's like you have to accept it regardless of what it is.
Okay.
So strong support, I think not true.
Not true. Achha. Okay, one true, one semi-true. Some type of informal mentorship develops whereby one who is most experienced would sort of pass along the information and knowledge to the novices. Does that happen or not happen? Did someone ever teach you to make memes?
No.
Not really. Did someone ever share pearls of wisdom? আমরা অলোককে বসাই দিই। Okay. Does that happen or not happen?
No, sometimes.
Maybe in some of the cases, but not always. Another semi-true. Members believe that their contributions matter.
For making memes.
We have a skeptic amongst us. But do you feel, the ones who make memes, do you feel that your contribution matters? Just করতেছে সবাই।
To make people feel.
প্রতিবাদ করে।
To make people laugh.
To make people laugh, maybe. Members feel some degree of social connection with one another. Who closely যদিও না হোক, at least they care about what other people think about what they have created. Yes. So you want
It kind of
something-
brings people together.
Okay, so we have 2 truths and 3 semi-truths. Can memes or the culture of creating and circulating and distributing and redistributing, recreating memes be considered as participatory media?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. 2 things matter a lot in the sustainability of memes. One is its adaptability, the other is its shareability. To what extent do you think a meme is adaptable? আমি যদি এই টেক্সটটা বাদ দিয়ে দিই, তারপর এখানে অন্য একটা টেক্সট বসাই।
Sure.
It would make sense. It would be kind of
As
adaptable.
long as it make meaning with the picture.
As
Exactly.
long as it's a meaning, it is
Okay. Okay. So adaptability is kind of crucial, and also shareability. Because if you don't share memes, they will not. Well, they will die. Another thing is, I suppose, important is how it is very similar to the culture of remix. You take one thing, it's there, but you also add your own twist to it. Someone else does, and then someone else does, and it's this new version. Is this a new meme? Yes, it is. এখন, another thing about adaptability, and to what extent people understand catchphrases, especially, is this. We are okay. কোনোদিন উইলিয়াম শেক্সপিয়ারের কথা বলে নাই। তো এক জায়গার ছবি, আরেক জায়গার টেক্সট, সেটাকে আরেকভাবে বলার পরে কেন আমরা বুঝতেছি why are we laughing? Same thing, right? Yeah. Same thing. This is even worse.
Verily, a rather bizarre act of performance.
Okay. They've never said stuff like that for sure, but এখন, how many of you know Mahmoud sir? যদি Mahmoud sirকে না চিনেন, will you be able to relate to it?
No.
So there are different levels of understanding, layers of meaning, and a lot of the meaning is in your head. If you know who this guy Mahmoud Hassan Khan is, if you don't know Mahmoud sir, you won't get it. But if you do know Mahmoud sir, then you oh my god, yes.
Ma'am, can I say something? আমি একবার মোহাম্মদ স্যারের কাছে গিয়েছিলাম just to talk to him about something like কথার মধ্যে আমরা মানে আমি আমার ক্যারিয়ার নিয়ে কথা
When you're
বলছিলাম স্যার আমি
talking,
ফিউচারে কি
whatever
করবো না
comes out of
করবো
your mouth is just data to
দেন স্যার
analyze.
আমাকে মানে তুমি তাহলে ক্লিনিং করো মানে মানে ক্লিনিং কি কেসে করছে
So this
আমি আমি
data is not
কেমন
your
স্যার
specific data.
বুঝছি স্যার আমার কাছে তার ডাটা পাঠাইছে আমি ডাটা
The analysis is really
Okay, just to give a little bit of context, Mahmoud Hassan Khan is a discourse analyst. ওনার কাজ হচ্ছে মানুষ যখন কথা বলে সেই কথাটাকে ডেটা হিসেবে ইউজ করে ওই কনভারসেশনটা অ্যানালাইজ করা। So when he meets a new person, he immediately thinks, is this my data? এবং আজকে যে এই ঘটনাটা ঘটতেছে এটা সাবটেক্সট হচ্ছে কারণ মাহমুদ স্যার চান যে আপনারা কেউ কেউ যেন বড় হয়ে মানে আন্ডারগ্র্যাডে যখন ডিসার্টেশন করবেন কেউ কেউ যেন মিমের উপর
Ma'am, he told me just this time I was showing
Yes.
him the templates. He was
Yes.
like, try করো যাতে স্টুডেন্টদেরকে পার্সু করা যায় মিমের উপর দিয়ে।
Is this my dissertation student? So, yes, that's what it is. এখন বলেন আমাকে যে এখন আমাকে বলেন যে সবসময় কি মিমের বিষয়টা is about humor or sarcasm? Can meme ever be used as a form of resistance?
I think modulus tried.
very
How?
Modulus tried.
How?
It's like when something bad happens and people want to act, মানে resistance দেখাচ্ছে তখন সে এমন ভাবে মিমটা তৈরি করবে so that people can actually think যে okay এই জিনিসটা এইভাবে না হয় যদি ওইভাবে তো হিসেবে হতো না so they find the funny thing out of it.
Okay.
The funny thing is why become a
Like the day before
the day before I created some comments
Isn't there
regarding
like
NDM.
politician names
So if you want,
politicians
you
before
can
like the
just get
proportion
into the
booths?
page and
Cat letter, it's not like happy, like big cuts or election of party, angry cat letter.
না যেটা যদি এরকম হয় যে একটা বাস
A lot of
যে আমরা
memes.
বসুন্ধরা যে মারা গেল যে আমরা বাসে ইনসিডেন্ট এরকম করি যে একটা মানুষকে
Didn't Modulos leave the country?
সামনে
What?
Modulos এর admin country ছেড়ে চলে গেছে?
সামনে সামনে হাঁটতি আমি ওস্তাদ সামনে হাঁটতি ধরবে না কে দেখে so some of us might find it funny but some of us will say okay এরকম তো
We understand that this is not exactly the intention of the
exactly আবার হতে পারে সামনে যে মুরগি আছে ওস্তাদ সামনে মুরগি ধরবে না কে দেখে
অর্থাৎ কি না যেখানে you know that you raising a voice directly will not make much of a difference. You create something that is intended to be funny, but at the same time there's another meaning.
yes
And it also has the added benefit of being easily shareable.
yes
So the humor is, the funny is basically a foil. So there are underlying things. I say this because in specifically
Cats against
questionable
capitalism.
or repressive political regimes, where people
There
don't
is-
always get to directly criticize their
We're a global
political
capitalist
leaders,
free market cat
they
day.
make memes.
You only launch once.
Would make sense if you know how many nuclear bombs a man has in his pocket. Or this.
No options.
আপনারা যারা ইয়ে দেখছেন, The Dictator?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, Aladdin would be either yes or no. পুতিনের ক্ষেত্রেও তাই। What about this?
এটা আমি দেখি
এটা আমিও মনে হয় 2 দিন আগে দেখছি। So there are a lot of things. I mean, there are so many other memes that I wanted to bring forward, but there are too many of them, so I got tired. And also we don't have time. We're done. We're done. This is it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, we're not done yet.
No, we're not done yet. আচ্ছা তাহলে আমাদের আলাপ শেষ. Basically what I wanted to talk about was to how to one incorporate different modes to communicate, two how to incorporate different texts within one to have different layers of meaning, and three how it encourages one who sees to participate. ধরেন 3 মাস 4 মাস 5 মাস 1 বছর আমি খালি মিম দেখছি তারপরের বছর প্রথম মাসে কি আমার মনে হলো আমি একটা বানাই দিচ্ছি and I can do it and it's okay. And there are like different layers. Another thing, just food for thought. Kono khetre we just take the image. Kono khetre we take the image with the text, but then add something or write out something. Kono khetre we take the text and the image, but we alter something. Why do we take different decisions in different cases? Not going to answer it. This is the end. I baked it. Yeah, so the next thing to do, Amar Kaj Shesh, the next thing to do is for you to make a meme if you can. No pressure. So we
Just
have
name
templates,
templates.
we don't have access to multiple computers right now. So
Right now?
একটা জিনিস আমি বলতে চাই সেটা হচ্ছে যে
It's a different thing.
একটা
I think.
বিশেষ যে জিনিসটা হয় যে
এখন আমরা lecture
ডিটেইলটা যে সাবজেক্টটার উপরে যে সাবজেক্টের উপরে আমি মিমটা বানাবো সেই সাবজেক্টের ডিটেইলটা হচ্ছে সবচেয়ে বেশি
Wait, we have to draw?
most important,
Oh, okay.
because যদি ওই ডিটেইলটার উপরে খেয়াল না করেন
Let's make something Marxist.
আপনি এখানে এটা হচ্ছে দেখো আমি দেখে
And,
বুঝতে পারছি এখানে আমি কি বানাবো
1 second.
ডিটেইলটা
কেউ মিমের টেমপ্লেট গুলা দেখবো না একসাথে সবাই দেখবো ঠিক আছে so you guys get the same time to think about it and make it
Can I get one too? Yeah, sure. For you, it's.
Should I just turn off the recording?
no don't look at it
See you, comrades.